Good afternoon. Oh, come on, it's after lunch. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, I'm James Lennick, and I want you all to close your eyes. Envision that you're in your bed and you get a call or a page, 2 a.m., a couple of workflows, in fact, their agents aren't working. Another one just sent 17 emails to your boss, deleted a bunch of information. Who approved it? Can you roll it back in under a minute? Ask yourselves, do you know every agent that's running across your tenant? Can you turn it off in under a minute, including all of its access? And can you see what it was doing, what it was accessing across all of your resources? If the answer isn't a confident yes, that's why we created Agent 365, why we've been talking about it so much this week. It's that single control plane giving you one place to discover all of your agents, what they're doing, and govern their access and their control. And it's integrated with all the M365 tools, building on all that existing infrastructure that you already have and you've already been building for your employees. And we're going to talk about today around how you make it real. So we're actually going to get into the code, show how you build agents and instrument them for Agent 365. And you don't have to just take it from us. We're going to cover a lot of different examples today. And the first one is I'm going to play a video, and then we're going to jump into some real live examples. All right, I'm going to play the video first, and then we're going to get started.
How does a leading enterprise like Telstra scale AI responsibly across 28,000 license holders and a growing ecosystem of agentic AI use cases, whilst continuing to deliver innovation for customers and employees? Partnering with Microsoft, Telstra is previewing Agent 365 to empower teams to build and scale AI agents with built-in productivity tools, observability, security, and governance, driving responsible AI innovation at scale. Let's have a look at one example in preview, Telstra's Meeting Brief Preparation Agent, which transforms hours of meeting prep into minutes, showcasing responsible agentic AI in action. As you can see, the agent is pulling crucial information and context using multiple Agent 365 productivity tools, including Outlook emails, calendars, and team chats, whilst understanding Telstra's mission and strategy. Agent 365 provides a centralized console where administrators can review, approve, or deny access to MCP server connections. If a server or tool doesn't meet policy requirements, administrators can restrict access to keep agents compliant across the organisation. IT can enforce guardrails and monitor risk posture through Defender. Observability logs every agent action, enabling Defender to detect threats and gives security teams full audit trails for investigation. Defender correlates suspicious or repeated activity patterns into incidents, highlighting potential security or compliance risks. Here's an example where multiple alerts, such as suspicious execution and impossible travel, are combined into a single view. Telstra's security team can see the full context, including the user involved, locations, and linked systems, making it easy to respond quickly. Telstra is a data and AI frontier firm, and deploying tools like Agent 365 with Microsoft is critical to delivering AI at scale across the business. This is the future of enterprise AI.
What you just saw isn't a one-off. With Agent 365, you can enable every agent in your environment. Yes, take a picture. This is going to come back a couple times today. Agent 365 brings together agent identity, so you know who your agents are, agents observability, so you know what they're doing, and agent interoperability, giving them access to same tools and data and allowing them to work within the flow of work alongside your employees and your colleagues. And most importantly, it's governed. And what we're going to talk about today is that you have choice in how you build your agents. You are not locked in. You can take your existing agents, be it built across Microsoft platforms or your own platforms, and enable them for Agent 365. And those three areas are what we're going to dive into today. And we're going to start with identity and observability. And I'm gonna switch over and I'm gonna show it. I could talk it to you about it, but I'm just gonna show it to you live here. All right, go to James. All right, hopefully you see that behind me. All right, I'm gonna start off with an agent that I've already built. It's actually built using the Claude Agent SDK. This is not actually built using Microsoft technology. It's a very simple agent. It is, quote unquote, an experienced and enthusiastic travel agent. I think some of us need some time off after the conference today. It's a pretty straightforward agent, leveraging Claude Sonnet 4, basically the out-of-box tools that are out there. So this is an out-of-box agent. It might look very similar to some of those that you're using and building across your enterprise today. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leverage the awesome documentation that we just launched that talks about how you can instrument your existing agent with the new Agent 365 SDK. We have multiple flavors for different languages. And I'm gonna leverage a coding agent here of GitHub Copilot. You can also leverage Claude Code. Other options are out there. And I'm gonna ask it, within the context of VS Code here, within my agent project, to upgrade my agent, to look at all the great documentation. And we have README materials around how you upgrade it, in this case for a JavaScript agent, instrument it for observability, tooling, and identity. And I'm gonna have GitHub Copilot help me instrument my agent, the existing agent that I have. And this isn't gonna change the behavior of the agent, but what it is gonna do is it's going to add in the SDK for identity. It's gonna get all of those tracing and those logs flowing for this agent. And what I've done here is I have an environment where this actually has not just the tooling for the SDK, but a bunch of rich tools for how you go and publish it after the fact. And so this has actually gone and updated. I'm gonna close GitHub Copilot right now. You can see here it's gone through and updated my agent definition here. It's pulled in the SDK. It's actually instrumenting, in this case, the observability manager. So this a library that's going and it's gonna automatically pull all of those logs and send them to Agent 365. And to show this in action, I'm just gonna go and run this agent here. So I'm gonna run it locally. This is after it's been instrumented. And our toolkit has very awesome local tools. And so what I can do here is I can run the agent's playground. So this gives me the ability to test my agent locally. I'll just say hi. Travel agent here, and it's going to respond in a second. This gives you a great local development experience, and we're going to use it here to prove that the observability logs are actually flowing from my travel agent here. So it's great. You know, I need a break. I want to go to Hawaii, and this is less about what the agent is doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back. So this is running locally, and I'm going to go and I'm going to open up the terminal here where my agent is working. And what you're gonna see here at the beginning of all this is that observability, the Agent 365 SDK was instrumented. And it has been, as I've been having this conversation, it has been tracking the observability logs for this agent, aligning with the OpenTelemetry standard. And this has just been spitting it out locally. So now I know, my agent works the way it did already. Now it's instrumented with observability in Agent 365 SDK. The last thing that's missing is I need to give it an identity so that I can actually publish it and have it be available for installation within my live production environment. So what's awesome, as well as a part of the launch this week, is that we've launched new CLI tools for Agent 365. These offer various different types of wrappers that help you set up your agent blueprints that I'm going to talk about in a second in Entra, help you develop the right scopes for your agent, and help you publish it to the Agent 365 catalog. And so that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to showcase this setup command, which allows me to create my blueprint in Entra. That's what's going to give it an agent identity. And I'm going to kick this off. What you're going to see here, it's going to take a couple minutes, but it's going through and it's going and helping me create essentially this global registration for my agent. This is kind of what we call an agent blueprint. This is what gives it its unique identity. And it's actually going to launch a couple screens here. And what it's doing is it's actually configuring the consent and all the permissions for this blueprint in Entra. And it's going to take a couple minutes. So I'm going to go here right earlier today while you all were filing in. I ran this. and it configured a blueprint ID for me for this travel agent. And all I have to do once I have that is I have to go into my project here, and I just have to add that blueprint ID into my agent. It's that simple. I've instrumented my agent, I created a blueprint identity. Now I can wrap this up, and that CLI has a publish command that I can then go and publish my agent, which works just the way it did before, but now it has a unique identity. And after I've published it, it will show up within, in this case, my test tenant. It shows up in that same list of agents you've probably seen 20 times already at Ignite. And I can go and I can look at this blueprint. I can open it up, and it goes into the Entra Agent Center. And you can see here, this is my global blueprint. It has all of the right access permissions that I have here. You're going to hear a little bit later from Robert how you can configure access to different types of resources like our new MCP servers. They would show up as additional scopes here. And what I've also done, and what I had another CLI command, I didn't run it here, but I actually created an instance of this agent blueprint in this test tenant. And that's what you see here. So it has an identity for me to test within this very tenant. And if I go to Teams, I see that instance here. So I can talk with my travel agent here, and it's an instance that's now running in live. It's that same version that you saw locally. And what's really awesome about this is now I can go into my integration testing loop as a developer, because now as part of Agent 365, if I'm a sponsor, I'm an owner of this agent instance within this tenant, I can go and I can see that same observability activity light up directly within Teams. So I already asked it to try to book my Hawaii vacation for myself and my family of 4 here. You can see here how all those Agent 365 instrumentation lit up this rich activity log. For me, I'm essentially the owner of this agent after it's been instantiated. I can see what it's doing. And I don't have just that's right, Christmas holidays. I don't know what I can do on that budget. But it doesn't just light up here for the owners of those agents. It also lights up for the different IT personas. So those same events flow into Defender. And you can see here that this is actually someone who has access to all of the agents across the organization, but you can filter it to my Claude Travel agent, and you can see the logs that are just available for that agent. And I can also, as people are interacting with it here, you can see here, this is just logs for the specific agent instance that I've created. But then also, as people are interacting with this agent, you can also leverage, it shows up as this identity instance within Purview. And so all of the data that it's accessing, the people that are working with it, because it has that instance of that identity, also flows through into Purview as well. You can see my command is still setting up my blueprint for me, the one I kicked off. And with this, I'm going to switch back to the PowerPoint here. I showed you how you can take an existing agent and you can enable it with an identity. And we have a bunch of tools to help you create that agent blueprint. And then I added that SDK that was tied to that blueprint that then let all of those observability logs flow. And because it's behind that instance of that agent identity, once you create that agent within your environment, it honors all those permissions and scopes that you've set for it already. And what you also saw me show how is we have these great tools to help you with that dev flow. We have a bunch of great tools to help you set up the right Entra agent blueprint. We have the SDK and that local agents playground to test your agent to make sure that you can set up the right permissions, you can set up the right observability and tool calling. What I didn't showcase there is if you don't already have a messaging endpoint for your agent, you're already hosting it on your own infrastructure, it also can help you deploy it to Azure and get an endpoint on Azure. And then you can publish that agent to a tenant and instantiate it to be able to test it. And Agent 365 is not just a vision. We're not just talking about it. It's already an ecosystem, and it's already growing very fast. We have a myriad of partners and customers that are already building and shipping on Agent 365 across a wide range of industries and use cases. And I'm going to talk about a couple today. The first is Devin from Cognition. It's a full-stack engineering agent that works like a real teammate. So Devin can plan a change, write and refactor code, and open up PRs, collaborate, but it can also explain diffs, attach logs through Outlook, through Teams, so the team stays in the loop. And because it's enabled through Agent 365, all those actions are identified, observable, governed, and you get that dev productivity innovation with the enterprise control. So you can have coding agents that are also enabled through Agent 365. And another great example is NAN, a great partner with us. They're a powerful workflow automation platform that's infused with AI. And with Agent 365 integration now, you can build AI-driven workflow agents. Like I think there's a bug tracker example playing behind me right now. It automatically logs issues, sends invites, creates Word documents. It really streamlines workflows end to end. And just like Devin, every action that this agent takes is fully tracked. And so we have this rich partner ecosystem as well. They're already proving out these capabilities. They're already leveraging those same endpoints, those same SDK that I showed you, that you can use for your own agents. They're already building on that as well today. And now I'd like to invite Robert to the stage, who's going to talk a little bit around that third box of agent interoperability. Robert?
All right. Thank you, James. So very exciting to see what our partners have already been building, integrating with Agent 365, using their agent identity, using observability, and utilizing tools. So the first half of the session really focused on probably the upper left part of the slide. For the rest of the session, I will dive deeper into those interoperability tools that we provide to Agent 365 agents, regardless on what platform they are running. Whether you build them with Cobalt Studio or Foundry on the Microsoft platform, whether you're a pro code developer and you like to build code just directly using your favorite coding agent or IDE, or Reddit Automate can run on non-Microsoft AI runtimes. There is a set of tools that we have made available ultimately for Agent 365 agents to utilize. And so at a high level, what we have made available as of today, so if you are in the Frontier Preview tenant, you can make use of a lot of these tools, and I'll show them in detail in a moment, that basically enable your agent to utilize and access the applications that your organization uses, emails, chat messages, Word documents, PowerPoints, Excel, OneDrive, SharePoint, and plug directly into the workflows of your business. When your employees create documents, they can share it with agents. Agents can create documents. Agents can share them with your employees. You can collaborate within documents. So let's dive right in and look at some elaborate live demos. So the next probably 15 minutes or so is going to be just a series of demos. Let's hope the demo gods are with me. And I will show you essentially how to build an agent and using those tools. Just to set the stage, this is Sava, our organization, and one of the tasks that the organization needs help with is hiring. So I've built a Sava hiring agent. Now, that Sava hiring agent, and I'm utilizing basically the same agent's playground for local development. I've started the Sava hiring agent really from our samples. So we have released, basically as part of Microsoft 365 Agents Toolkit, there's an Agent 365 Python sample. So that is what I have here. It's just a Python sample as is. And I've already run through the steps that James showed earlier of my agent has an agent identity. It's already configured. And so all I'm going to do is now I want to equip my agent with the tools, because for hiring, my hiring agent needs to assist with basically preparing onboarding materials for candidates, notifying their managers, sending emails, chat messages. And so for that, I basically utilize the Agent 365 command line interface. Even as a pro developer, I actually don't have to write code for basically making available Agent 365 managed tools to it. And so here is a larger list of MCP servers. Those MCP servers are automatically deployed and available in your Frontier tenants, and you can basically select from them. There's more than a dozen of them. Specifically, I won't go through the full list. Specifically, what I will do is, basically, I have a command here where I basically equip my agent. I just basically tell it, OK, add several MCP servers to the configuration of my agent. I'm not going to write code. I just, through the tool, I tell it, OK, my agent needs to basically be able to create Word documents, collaborate in Word. It needs to be able to send emails. It needs to interact with OneDrive and SharePoint. So I'm going to add all of these. That was it. And so now I'll switch back to Agent Playground. This is my agent here. I'll zoom in a little bit. And so I can test it immediately locally. I've just configured my agent, equipped it with those tools. Now, there's one more tool that I'm giving it. That tool is not released yet as of today. It is Windows 365 for agents. We will release that soon. I have already added it to my project. So it's not deployed in the Frontier tenant that I'm in. It's basically, I had to write a few lines of code. But when we make this available publicly, you will actually not have to do that. You will just configure it just like I showed. You will tell it, hey, add this Windows 365 for agents tool to it, which will allow it, for example, to utilize a browser with computer using agent to basically navigate to web pages, fill out forms, and so on when there is no API. And that might be quite common. I'm sure many of you in the audience have probably some old websites, internal websites developed maybe by your IT department or either completely custom developed. And in this case with Saba, this is no different. And so what I have here, and so here in this browser, I'm directly connected actually to this completely managed Windows 365 for agents environment. So as an agent developer, I don't have to worry about infrastructure. I don't have to worry about writing code for this. I basically get this automatically by adding this tool to my agent. And here is my facilities management portal. It's a website. The website, I'm sure many of you have similar things, where for requesting a badge for a new employee as part of onboarding, OK, you have to, and I can manually go through this, right? I have to go here, request the badge, fill out a form, submit details, and then I get probably a confirmation number, where to pick up the badge, and all of that. And so I will basically equip my agent to do this. And all I did is I gave it access to this tool. And let me actually close the window here. So you can see, right, there's nothing running on this VM. And basically, I'll start with requests. So this is my local agent that I showed. I equipped it with those tools. The first request is I request a new employee badge. For Alex, a new employee. His manager is Jeff. He works in the North Building. And this will take a few minutes. So I will basically, in parallel, basically do a second request to my agent here. And that is for a second employee that will join in a week. And so I want to basically prepare the onboarding for that employee. And so I want to generate a welcome to Saba onboarding doc for a new employee, Andy Miller. He reports to Sam Smith. I also want to basically collaborate with the agent on the content of that. And so I basically ask the agent, hey, yes, generate the document, but then also ultimately send the document as a link. And in fact, this was, I guess, it had not the email address in it. And so, all right. So I basically have it work on these requests. Now, in the meantime, right, as it is processing on these requests, I can check in. Actually, yeah, we see it. It has already like navigated to this particular Windows 365 managed browser. It is filling in. And ultimately, what it's doing here is the agent and the AI is using computer using agents to basically find what are the questions asked on the form related to my original prompt. And my original prompt was basically providing the employee name, providing manager name, building, and so on. And then submitted the request. Now, the final page here that the request is confirmed is actually a longer page. So there's actually further down on that page, it actually has confirmation number, pickup details, and so on. And so this is also what it ultimately is still reading. So we'll see it is still doing work here because it's still processing ultimately the content of this page. So I, as the developer of that agent, I didn't write any code to basically deal with, okay, how to navigate to websites or how to read the content of a website, how to fill out the form details of that website, how to press buttons, how to make sure I press the right button. All of that is basically automatically taken care of, and it will also be available as a completely managed tool that I can equip my agent with, just like I did with here. So it came back, okay, request status confirmed, and the pickup location, I guess, couldn't confirm yet. And so now here, it basically generated, I had asked it to generate the onboarding document, and basically, it has created a rather terse onboarding document. So I will need to basically ask the agent, hey, let's do a little bit more for our new employee, right? We really want to make this a little bit of more of a memorable day for that employee. And so what I can do is, I basically mention my agent. So you see, Sava hiring agent is basically an identity in my tenant. It's like another colleague. I can mention, I can send emails to it. I can call on it in a chat. I can also add a Word doc review comment and basically ask it what's a great idea for making the first day for Andy Miller memorable. And so now I submitted this as a Word doc review comment. And so what's happening here is that it's not just the tools that we have given the agent, that Word MCP server that I equipped the agent with actually also has notifications on events. And so what's happening here is that as I have added this particular doc review comment, there is a notification. And you may have, if you have used Word before and somebody has mentioned you in a Word doc comment or in a PowerPoint a PowerPoint review comment or an Excel review comment, you will eventually get probably an email that notifies you. So it's asynchronous. It will take a little bit. You don't get it in real time. And it's similar here. So it will take a couple of minutes. Typically, it can take up to 5 minutes for the notification to basically arrive for that agent identity, the agent identity basically receiving that request. And basically what it gets is, it gets a notification that, hey, you were mentioned in a particular document, and here is a way through the tools that we provide with the Word MCP server of how you can basically get more context. And so what the agent does now is, when it receives notification, it basically will read the document, will try to figure out, hey, is the comment basically fully self-contained? Is it in context of something specific in the document? And will basically then formulate a response. And so, as I said, this will take typically a couple of minutes. What I can also show in the meantime is, this is my mailbox. So this is myself in that tenant. Right? I had an old message from last week, and I had gotten a message just like 2 minutes ago. And this is actually the message sent by the hiring agent. So the hiring agent has an identity in my tenant. It can send emails. It can send me chat notifications. It can share documents, just like it did a moment ago. And so in this particular email, it basically also had, in the chat interface, I directly clicked on the link. But because it shared the document with me, also got basically, it sent me an email with that sharing notification. That is the same document got shared with me. Now let's check back in. It's probably not done yet, and let's refresh. Basically the Word document, let's see if it has responded. Not yet, still basically working on receiving notification. I have already yesterday, I basically had worked with the Sava hiring agent on a more elaborate onboarding document, and you can also see basically my interactions with it. So you can see that, for example, yesterday, it took 3 minutes on that first request, so from 148 to 151, when it responded, and asked it what are some of the top ideas of what I could do to make the first day for the new employee memorable. And then I followed it up. I was basically, yeah, these are great ideas. And I took it on one of the ideas, and I said, okay, please schedule an intro meeting. Now, this is also interesting, right? I didn't go and request from the agent through a separate channel, hey, please schedule a meeting with the new employee for a particular day and time. I did it directly in the Word doc review comment. And in this case, it basically responded back after 4 minutes, okay, the intro meeting draft is prepared, do you want to send it? So it can basically respond to notifications, it can collaborate with you on documents, on PowerPoint presentations, on Excel files. It can also take actions directly out of the context where you work and where your organization runs its business processes. And so now let's take a quick peek whether it has also responded back here. It's probably still working. Oh, no, it came back. So it took 3 minutes this time. And so it came back with a few suggestions of, okay, what could we do to make that first day memorable? Personalized welcome kit, a team breakfast lunch. Okay, these are all great ideas. So I can basically collaborate with my Saba hiring agent that really just started from the Python sample that we are releasing for Agent 365 agents, and I simply equipped it with the tools of the Word MCP server, email, OneDrive, and SharePoint. And then the Windows 365 basically for agents, so it could also run against my internal websites. I didn't have to write any code. Now, I could keep testing it further locally, but you can test as much locally as you like. There's always this hot topic of evals. You want to do systematic evaluation. You want to basically find out how well your agent is performing in realistic tasks. And so one of the things we are also doing is we are basically making available evals for agent interoperability. And as you've seen, we have a set of about 12 MCP servers we have released this week. There will be more coming. And what we're also doing is we're making available basically a GitHub project very, very soon, basically in the next few weeks, that brings you data sets. So these are generated data sets that focus on specific capabilities of the MCP servers, these managed remote MCP servers that basically we are providing. Like, for example, the email MCP server, there's an email collaboration data set. That data set has a number of test cases, and we will basically further expand these. And these test cases are not just like basic things like, oh, send an email. No, they're pretty elaborate in terms of giving you ideas of what are the kinds of things that are typically multi-step orchestration steps that are being performed, and how to validate the response. So you can utilize that. We're open sourcing all of this. For email, we are also open sourcing, basically as part of the first wave, for meeting scheduling with a number of set scenarios, including things like, hey, I have a meeting and there's a meeting conflict, find another slot. A very common scenario in a collaboration scenario. And so this is also where we provide these data sets available to you. This will go live in a few weeks. And then I can register. So we'll also provide you this harness, this little application. You may have your own evaluation platform. That's totally fine. You can utilize the data sets that I just showed and the test cases with it. So you can utilize just that. If you like to, you can also utilize some additional functionality we've integrated in here, which is I can register basically agents. So you can see I have my Saba hiring agent, my version 0.1, my version 0.2, and I can basically kick off evals directly from here and select the data sets. If you add your own data sets, okay, do you have a longer list? And then running the evals will basically take 10 minutes or more, depending how many scenarios you have in there. We also have a local leaderboard integrated. The local leaderboard basically records all the runs and allows you to analyze them. And ultimately, what you see here is, okay, I have a smart scheduler. Yes, of course, it's 100% perfect on the evals. That just means, maybe I don't have advanced enough scenarios. So we definitely will further enhance these. When I scroll down in the list, sadly, my Saba hiring agent 0.1 achieved 0%. So I had to do some improvements. 0.2 was already better, was 29%. Clearly, I have some more work to do for these more advanced, scheduling, email scenarios, and so on. But for what you saw me showing you live, it can already do a lot of things without me actually writing code and doing further tweaks. I just equipped it with the tools as they are. And so all of this is also available basically very soon for your local development. So you have a very productive inner developer loop of how you can get work done. Now, there's one more thing I want to show. So here, right, for Saba, for our hiring efforts, we have a SharePoint site. On the SharePoint site, we keep track of, folder with external candidates. So when new external candidates apply for job roles, I basically have a folder and a drop, those resumes get dropped in there. And I'm sure many of you have utilized, Copilot, for example, in Teams. So I could ask it, questions like, hey, summarize the resume of Robert Irvin, right, who was like one of the new resumes that popped up. Now, what if I could take this functionality, right, that is like the UX functionality of, hey, I can interact with Copilot, and I can basically package it into Copilot Chat MCP server. And that's exactly what we've done. Now, I could show it in my original agent, but I want to show it actually in Copilot Studio, where without writing any code, I can basically equip an agent. So this is a completely empty agent in Copilot Studio. No description, no triggers, no instructions, no knowledge. Like, it has nothing. The only thing I've added is I've given it a tool. And the tool is basically all these MCP servers that we are making available for Agent 365. They are also available in Frontier program, in Copilot Studio, as well as in Foundry. And so specifically, the MCP server I want to draw your attention to is the M365 Copilot Search MCP server. It gives you essentially your agent, the programmatic tool of how Copilot Chat is essentially interacting with you if you go for it through Teams or for the Copilot application. And so what I can do then ultimately here is I can basically, for another new resume that came in right on this folder, Ivana Mendez. And so if I open it here, we'll see she is basically zooming in a bit, she's a front-end developer. And so I run this. And remember, this was just an empty agent in Copilot Studio. All I did is I gave it access to the Copilot Chat tool. That's all I did. I didn't upload any files. I didn't configure any access to SharePoint sites or anything. And basically utilizing Copilot Chat as if it was me, interacting with Copilot Chat through the UX, I have now an agent that can basically do the same things. And so it will take probably around 20 more seconds or so. Oh, OK, it's already done. And so you can see it basically came back with, it summarized for Ivana Mendez. It summarized based on documents, on emails, on chat conversations, anything that I have access to, because I configured it to run under my identity. The same thing works for agent identities. So the agent that I showed earlier, basically, I can just equip it with the same tool, running the same Agent 365 CLI command, and boom, it can do the same thing. Basically, I've given the power of Copilot Chat to my custom agent that can run on a custom platform. So Copilot Chat, basically, that MCP server is also available today. All right, with that, let's head back to the slides and do a quick recap on some of the things that I showed. And so number one, where we finished off was, there's basically a series of MCP servers that we're making available as part of Agent 365 for any agent, any platform that you want to develop them. In addition, we're making the same Microsoft MCP servers available in Copilot Studio as well as in Foundry, available today. Furthermore, what I showed is not just the tools of taking action, like generate a Word document, create a sharing link, share it with another person in the organization, and then collaborating in that Word document, and ultimately responding to my Docker review questions or comments and so on. We also showed basically the notifications. So a lot of these MCP servers we're releasing, and we will continuously expand them, is not just about action taking, it's also about reacting, basically equipping our agent to be directly in the flow of how your business operates how your business processes are running. So they can seamlessly work and integrate and access in a secure way with their own identity, following all the security postures that you've set up in your organization to basically get work done and get work done productively. And so finally, I also showed basically how we're making available sample evals for agent interoperability. Now we're starting with the ones for emails and meeting scheduling related to the MCP servers that we are providing for that. We will continue to expand this. We'll give you basically open sourced data sets that you can utilize, right, for your own evals. Of course, you can expand it. You can also utilize the little harness that I also showed, so it will all be in a GitHub repo. But of course, you can utilize them with other eval tools that you are already using in your organization. With that, I'll hand it back to James. Thank you.
That was awesome. I'm so excited about the agent interoperability that builds on that foundation. And there's tons of customers out there already that are already doing this for their own agents. Take EY here, who has only over 40,000 agents across their business. And their latest assurance orchestrator agent is leveraging agent interoperability. It's actually connecting multiple agents. They're chatting together through Teams and leveraging the new MCP servers like the calendar to automate complex audit workflows for some of their financial customers. And that seamless collaboration within the flow of work is enabled now securely through Agent 365. And another favorite of mine is Kasisto, a leader in financial services AI. Their agents are using, again, some of those new capabilities like email to allow consumers to apply for loans and underwriters to process them. And these agents, again, are collaborating with each other over email. And every single action, just want to reiterate it again, is observable and governed through Agent 365. And this is what I really want to land today, which is the key message that any agent, any stack, any workflow, Agent 365 can bring identity, observability, and interoperability to that solution. And whether you're building in Copilot Studio, whether you're building in Foundry, whether you're building on the Microsoft Agent Framework or on your own custom stack, Agent 365 can bring that solution to register, manager, and monitor every single agent all in one place. And with that, I hope you're all ready to get started and try this out yourself. This is a QR code to our developer documentation. Take a look at it. It has access to everything you need, the SDK, the documentation, and the samples that are made available today. Thank you all for joining, and please get started building.